Welcome to the week one go-to session. This is the first of 4 such sessions we're going to be holding this month. We have a nice turnout. We have 14 people with us. Yes, that's considered a great turnout. These sessions are recorded for people who cannot attend live. So I'd love to see all 14 of you, or even a few more, appear here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. But if for some reason you can't, you can always rest assured that these are recorded. Okay. So you can see my screen. I hope this first session, it's largely going to be devoted to, week one stuff. Like, we're going to get right into what we're working on this month, what we're working toward. We are working toward a single essay. That's it, just one essay. But we're going to do it step by step. Okay. Now, I'm going to hold off just a bit on what that essay is, though maybe some of you have snooped around a little bit and can see what we're working toward. But yeah, let me get to some bureaucratic stuff first, okay? So I'll probably be going back and forth between this presentation and our course platform. But okay, so you have all this overview stuff. And actually, I'm going to get away from the presentation right away. So here's the FSO platform. I don't know how things look on your end. It should be similar to this. So if you click on the About tab, that's where you find things like the syllabus, resources for success. So that, I believe, has like the phone numbers for FSO support, the writing center, all that. Anyway, you can read through all this stuff on your own. I'm going to get back to where we were. Some other bureaucratic stuff. Okay, so is everybody doing pretty well with all this getting started stuff? All of it's unweighted. There is a professionalism grade, but I record that at the end of the month. Okay, that should be an easy 10%. Basically, you have to do something pretty egregious to lose professionalism points. Like, you have to be highly insulting to me or one of your classmates, or there's a penalty too for like missing assignments or not completing assignments correctly. When I mean not correctly, I mean like not at all correctly. Like, the assignment doesn't even match. But except for those really, really kind of like egregious things, assume you'll get 100% here. But how about, well, obviously you've completed the lecture registration, or else you wouldn't be here. Is everybody signed up over at McGraw-Hill and turnitin.com? Yes, Justin, this is recorded, so you can watch it anytime. You can go back and watch it. And because it's in video form, you can skip around, so you don't have to like watch the whole thing from start to finish. Okay, I'm getting a lot of great yeses. Bear with me. I am going to very briefly just explain for people who are watching this lecture. Okay, so let me go into Turnitin real quickly. This is a snap. Okay, you just have to scroll down to here. You have this class ID and the password, Halloween. One word, well, it's usually one word anyway. All lowercase, okay, so it's case sensitive. And literally you just have to go to turnitin.com and it will ask for this information. So I think that's easy peasy. McGraw-Hill, I think the registration is also a snap because you have this video, right, that you can watch. And you also have this guy here. When I click on it, it should take you to my course. So you should see my name and the month we're in, October. Technically, it's still September, but this is the October class. This just tells you're in the right area, and then you just follow the steps. Okay, enter your email. That should be a full sail email address. It doesn't have to be, but you should probably use it. Maybe even you have to use it. I've never gone through. And actually, I'm going to briefly show some things on McGraw-Hill, okay? This will be useful to all of you because, okay, I need to get out of this. I need to go to the actual McGraw-Hill sign-in for me. Okay. So let me show you what I'm going to point out. Okay, so let me get out of this. Week one. For the first 3 weeks, it's pretty identical. You'll always have this guy here called the Achieve modules. Okay, we're worth 5% of your grade. I'm going to show in real time how those work. You also have this. This is where the lectures will be kept, by the way, lecture archive. So, and I put 2 forms. The video itself will be in the activity, so you can just click on it and watch it. Sometimes students have problems with the streaming for some reason. Sometimes it can be hiccupy in the FSO platform, so I also contain a YouTube link that will take you straight to YouTube if you prefer to watch it there. Right now, there's nothing there. Okay. So normally it would appear here. Okay, there will be a video here, and then there will be a link here that will take you to YouTube if the video isn't streaming properly. Okay, but also it lists the readings. Now you don't actually have to go here to figure out the readings because they're also. Let me show you how well organized they are. So I'm in McGraw-Hill. Here's us, October. I'm going to go into the student view so you can see how things look from your perspective. It'll take a few seconds to load. And as you can see, everything's organized by week. So you don't even have to go to that activity to figure out what the readings are. They're all neatly arranged. So here's week 1, 32 pages. Just click on this guy here and you can start reading by clicking on this arrow. And even though it says 32 pages, they're pretty easy pages. Okay, so yeah, like here's a page. And by the way, sometimes it has like little tasks in this green box. This one isn't really a task, but you don't have to do any of the tasks. You just have to read the stuff, okay? And then you can keep clicking to read through it. Yeah, most of the stuff is pretty short. Okay, and there are approximately 30 pages of this. Now, the reading is important because, here, let me click out of this. Let me close this. I'm going to come back to the Achieve modules. Okay, so you also have this guy here, 1.3 assignments. And you'll have this every week of the course, a journal response. And there's a lot of wording, but I've highlighted the important stuff. Okay, using quotes and or specific concepts from the week's reading as well as the lecture. Explain your understanding of blah, blah, blah. But here's the really important stuff. I need to see strong evidence that the readings were completed and that the lecture has been attended or watched. I recommend writing 2 medium paragraphs, one that summarizes the reading, one that summarizes the lecture. Really, this should be, sometimes week 1, because students aren't totally sure what I'm looking for, I'm usually pretty generous with grading because I understand that, but I'll indicate in the first week like what could be improved. But really, I'm looking at these weekly journals as almost like informal quizzes. Prove to me that you did the reading and prove to me that you watched the lecture. Now, you're here in the lecture now. The problem is I won't remember all 16 of you that attended. So yeah, please summarize. And this is just a way for me to keep up with who's doing the work. Because here's the thing, this class is not that difficult. It really isn't. Yes, it moves fast. Yes, there's work to do. But students, for example, who attend or watch lectures, they do just fine. They pretty much all pass. Okay, it's only when students miss assignments or try to complete assignments without watching the lectures, because the writing assignments in this class can't be guessed at or figured out on one's own, even though they look like they can. And when we get into the first major assignment, which is due this Sunday, I'll show that. Okay, it looks simple because there are like 10 prompts that you just have to answer. And yeah, it seems easy, like, oh, questions, I'll just answer them. But they have to show an awareness of course concepts. Okay, but we'll get back to that. Anyway, so these weekly journals, very simple. Yeah, write a medium-ish paragraph that summarizes the readings, so those 30 pages for week 1, and then this lecture. A good rule of thumb is maybe mention something specific from the beginning, middle, and end of each, just so I get some sense that, yeah, you really watched or read. And the readings, yeah, please do the readings, but selective skimming I'm okay with. Don't skim the whole thing, but read for gist, okay? That's more important to me. And even though both are important, the readings and the lectures are more important. Okay, well, a person can get by with, occasionally skimming the reading, but the lectures are much more important. So I'm not encouraging you to blow off the reading, but yeah, read for gist. Okay, I'm fine with reading it quickly. I'm fine with sometimes skimming, like, yeah, I get it. Anyway, that should be so simple. Okay, the weekly journals, because it's like just an informal quiz. So that's worth 5%. You're successful summarizing the readings and lecture. Then there's 5% for these interactive modules. So over at McGraw-Hill, you have 2 things. You have the readings, and then you have the Achieve modules. And you can see they're organized also by week, all in its own folder, Achieve modules. And I have them open the entire the entire month. So if you want to work ahead and bang them all out, you can do that. Okay, so yeah, but that's another thing. The due dates here are the actual due dates. So don't be confused because I have it set up the entire month. See, due October 28th. These aren't due October 28th. Again, for people who want to work ahead, they can do so. So I'm going to go into the module, click begin. Wait for it to load. And I'm going to answer a few questions on here just to show you what it looks like. Okay. What do I have to do here? Usually it jumps right into your assignments. Okay, so it sent me to help, but if you click on assignments, and you can set up a study schedule. I've already, because I've started this in the past, it's not asking me for to do so, but it will ask you, like, do you want to do it 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 4 times a week? How long do you want to work on it? You don't have to pay attention to it. You can sit down and do it all at once if you like, but it will set up a schedule if you want. And then it's just a matter of clicking on this arrow to get started. And I'll silence that woman. Click OK. And you have a progress bar at the bottom, okay? And you can choose how you want to go about doing the assignments. I'm just going to jump right in and complete the assignment. It gives you an estimation on how long it might take, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Some people might breeze through it in half that time. Some people might take twice as long. It depends how comfortable you already are with grammar and things like that. Okay, now here's the part. Usually I do pretty well because I'm the instructor, but click on the part of the passage that contains the error. Then type the correction in the box. Wasn't Enrique Granados the Spanish composer and pianist born in Cuba? I can't find the answer in our book. Okay, so this is easy, right? Anybody want to show off? And can anybody spot the problem? Yeah, good, Bradley. This is a question, okay? So we need a question mark. So click on the part of the passage. This is always confusing because I assume it's here because that's where the punctuation should be. Then it types, so I'll type a question mark. If you have any problem typing things into a text box, that probably means you need to use a different browser. Okay, I use Google Chrome because Safari, I don't know if it's improved, but like 4 or 5 years ago when I first came to Full Sail, yeah, Safari didn't like McGraw-Hill with everything. So you might have to try a different browser. In theory, McGraw-Hill is supposed to work with mobile devices like tablets and smartphones, but that could be an issue too. But yeah, some of the questions require you to type in the text box. So I'm going to click OK. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that I know it. And look, yay. And you can see the progress bar moves. When it gets to 100, you're done. Firefox has weird firewall kinks. Yeah, you might have to play with firewalls, or sometimes you get a little, I don't know, pop-up interference. Choose a prepositional phrases in the sentence. Click all that apply. Until yesterday, I had always thought that it was easy to apply for a job. Ooh, well, I think that's a preposition. That's a preposition. I don't believe it's not. This is not a prepositional phrase. I don't believe this is either, because that is a. I forget what the term is, but I'm pretty sure it's these two. Okay, so how confident am I? I think so. Yay! And if you get it wrong, that's fine. It will pop up again, probably the question, and it's you'll learn by repetition, right? By the way, prepositions are all those little words that indicate place or time. So words like until, above, below, in, for. Don't know why for is technically a preposition, but okay, it is. So yeah, sometimes the questions are a little bit nitpicky. Like I'm not sure it's that important that you can identify prepositional phrases, but you'll eventually get it right. Yeah, good, Catherine. Oh, for, under, near, after, since, too. Yeah, Catherine's showing off. She knows prepositions better than I do. I'm the instructor. Here, I'll do one more. Use a drop-down box to choose the correct punctuation for this. What did you think of the movie? Well, that's easy. Question mark. So some of them are really easy. Okay, I know it. Submit. Correct. And look, I'm already 6% there. So you get to 100 and you're done. And that's how I grade. I can see your completion percentage. So if you get 100, which you should be at, you get 100 for the assignment. If you're 75% complete, you get a 75. But okay, let me get out of this, okay? Because if I keep answering questions, then I'm doing the whole thing for you. So I'm going to get out of McGraw-Hill entirely because I think I've shown everything that needs to be seen there. Like, okay, 10% of your professional, that should be 100 if you do all assignments and do them correctly, okay? The weekly journals, those should be a cinch too, because you just have to prove to me that you did the readings and watch the lecture. The Achieve module that I just showed, you complete those to 100%, that's an easy 5%. Half this class is what I like to call gimme points, meaning they are completely in your control. I really don't have, like, yeah, they're not subjective. I mean, sure, if the weekly journal feels a bit thin, or I maybe question whether the reading was truly completed or not, I could take off a few points, but mostly these should be easy grades. And when your half of your grade is an A, you can fail the other half of the course and still pass. I don't recommend that. I think that would be a terrible decision, but you could do it. So really, I want to stress that, okay? This class isn't that difficult, even though it moves fast, even though, yes, there's a lot of work to keep up on. I don't want to see anybody struggling. Okay, let's start getting into what we're doing this month. That's all the bureaucratic stuff. Oh, and also, do use the FSO platform to send me messages. I can be pretty bad with email. I check once a day, but sometimes it can take me longer. So many people send me messages through FSO that it's kind of surprising when I see an email. So yeah, the quickest way to get a message is to just use the system itself. Okay. Oh, wow, Catherine. I'm not going to read your comments out loud because people who are watching this might see. Yeah, you'll do fine in this class. Believe me. Everybody will do fine, or you should do fine. If you're here at this lecture, that's already evidence that you're going to do fine. Okay, so let me get back to my little presentation thingy. Okay, so overview. Why do you have to take this class? Well, you can read the quotes, and there's a little percentage here. I don't think I have to convince people of the importance of English, even though there are students. Why do I have to take this class? I'm here to study music production. I'm here to study digital cinematography. I think people deep down inside know that communication is important, both in speaking and in writing. I always say, show me a successful person who can't write or who can't communicate. I mean, even like celebrities, you know, the people you see on television, maybe you have a good opinion about them, maybe you don't. Kanye West or Taylor Swift or Cardi B, or they're all super intelligent people. They can, they can write, they can communicate. So yeah, I think people get it. I think sometimes people have had bad experiences in the past. Maybe they had a high school class that didn't go well, or maybe they had a previous English teacher who made them feel like crap. But yeah, I do think people understand the importance of communication. And that's what this class is about. I will say, though, I am pretty frank and direct. I don't think I'm ever rude, but I do. Yeah, I'll be direct. I'll always be honest. But in part, it's because, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I think I'm like the easiest instructor in the English department. I give out more A's and B's than just about anyone. Because really, if students do the work and they attend the lectures and complete the assignments correctly, yeah, I have no problem. And plus, remember what I said before, that half the class is gimme points? That also helps out. Like if, let's say, one assignment, maybe you didn't get the greatest grade. Maybe you see that low B and you're like, oh, man. Believe me, those other 50% of gimme points, they balance those things out. Okay? I've had people who sometimes get B's or high C's on papers, and they still get like a high B, sometimes even a low A in the class, because that's just how things work out. So take advantage of that, okay? But yeah, because I think the class isn't that difficult for people to stay on top of things, I am always polite, but also direct and honest in my feedback. Okay, so what are we working on for this month? As I said at the beginning, we're working toward a single essay. That's it, just one essay. But we're going to work on it step by step. But the essay has a focus, and the little image on your screen kind of gives an indication we are going to be looking at advertisements. That's right. The essay we are working toward is a short, so we're talking about like 3 to 4 pages. 2.5 would probably be on the lower end. 3 to 4 pages. A paper that's an ad analysis essay. C's get degrees, but we ain't. Yeah, C's get degrees. I had a friend who went to UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and his chant, because in his major, a 2.3 was the minimum for passing, not 2.0. And his mantra was 2.3 to set me free. Yeah, aim higher. You can do better than that. Okay, so we're working toward an ad analysis essay. Now, if some of you have peeked ahead already, then you perhaps know, But if not, okay, so in week 1, we've already gone through this stuff. But the major writing assignment, the first major assignment activity is this guy here, the 1.5 assignment, preparing to write. So let me go in there real quickly. You can read through most of these instructions on your own, but here's a list of approved ads. Okay, so you don't get to choose whatever ad you like. There are reasons for that, because sometimes people choose an ad that they think is cool, but they don't really know what to say about it. And as we'll talk about in this session, because we're going to get some practice looking at ads and figuring out what to say about them. Yeah, I've chosen these ads because most of them have lots of things going on in them. So you have 5 television ads and 3 print ads. I'll give you some tips already. If you can, look at or watch all the ads and choose one after the lecture. Okay, obviously you're not going to probably choose one right now, but yeah, after the lecture, choose one based on what we've covered in the lecture. Okay, we're going to look at some sample ads, and we're going to hopefully spot interesting things going on in the ads. So even if you love, let's say, McDonald's, it's your favorite place to eat, or Apple. Okay, Apple. People love Apple products. Yeah, don't choose the ad just because you love Apple. If you look at that ad and say, well, I can't really spot too many interesting things going on, then choose another ad where you can. In other words, don't choose your favorite product or your favorite company. I can also tell you that print ads, so here, let me click on a print ad. Print ads are more challenging because on some level you have to be comfortable talking about visuals. And I keep including this ad every month because I like it, but it's the toughest ad. Every month I have 1 or 2 students who takes up the challenge and specifically writes about this one. But yeah, print ads, you have to be comfortable talking about visuals. Okay, like why these colors, or why this placement, or what does this placement mean? Right now that might not make sense, but trust me, we're going to look at some examples. So yeah, be careful. Print ads are probably more challenging, but I love print ads, and some people just are drawn to them. So Nicholas asks, is Call of Duty one? Yeah, it's one of the most chosen. Not just because people love video games, but see, I don't want to steer people in any direction, but yeah, the Call of Duty one has a lot going on. McDonald's do. Most of them do. I'd say, well, see, I don't want to steer people away. Salvation Army, Apple, the print ads, those are maybe a bit more challenging, but they all have interesting things going on. So let's dive into this, okay? Because right now you're probably thinking, wow, I'm frightened. I have no idea what to say about ads. Don't worry, we're going to practice. So where's my presentation thingy? Okay. So welcome to Ad Analysis, where yes, we are going to be looking at how advertisers persuade an audience. And right now, I want to keep a number in mind, the number 3, because I'm going to keep hammering this all month. Because what we're aiming for is a 5-paragraph essay. And if you remember from English class in high school, if you've ever been introduced to the 5-paragraph essay, yeah, that's essentially what we're doing. So we're talking about an introduction paragraph, right? A general paragraph that kicks things off. There will be a conclusion paragraph at the end, which is also a general paragraph that closes things down. And in between, you're going to have 3 paragraphs. Each of those paragraphs is going to focus on a separate issue going on in the ad that you find interesting. So that's kind of task number 1 that I want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind, that whatever ad you choose, ultimately you have to identify 3 interesting things that are going on. Also, keep this in mind as well. Ad analysis is not ad description. Okay? It's not ad summary. It's not, let me explain what this ad is about to someone who's never seen it before. Okay, it's more about, just as you might lift the hood of a car to examine the machinery underneath, you're doing the same thing with the ad. In other words, advertisers, these companies, pay ad agencies millions of dollars to come up with these ad campaigns. And no choice that they make is accidental. So it's about identifying specific choices and answering the question why. For example, why this color? Or Nicholas mentioned the Call of Duty ad. The Call of Duty ad uses a famous song, the Rolling Stones song, Gimme Shelter. Why? Why that song? Okay, they could have chosen any song. If they just wanted an upbeat, famous song, they could have chosen from thousands of songs. Why that song? So keep that in mind too, okay? We're trying to spot 3 interesting things, And ultimately, we're going to be answering the question why. And again, we're going to look at 3 examples of ads. Will you include an example of what a final assessment looks like? You mean a final ad analysis essay, Nicholas? Yes. Actually, I have one at the ready. You won't see this until week 3. If you guys want to see it early, I don't have a problem like sending it out as a message or attaching it to the first assignment. Right now I have it with week 3 because it won't be until week 3 that you actually write the draft of the essay. We're working one step at a time. So the first assignment is a brainstorming worksheet. Okay. The second assignment for next week is an outline. Week 3, you actually write a draft. But yeah, here's like we're going to look at this essay in just a second, or excuse me, this ad in just a second. Actually, I'll come back to this. You know what? Because we need to see the ad first. Let's practice, because I don't want you to see the answers. The answer key. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is just a nice, nifty little visual of the writing process. So we're here, okay? Each week of this course is devoted to a separate stage. So we're here, week 1, choosing an ad and brainstorming ideas. Next week, we're kind of in these 2 arms here. You'll do some research. Yes, research is required for this essay. And you're going to organize, because that's what an outline is. Week 3, you'll write the draft of the paper. Week 4, you'll get feedback from me and 2 of your peers in a peer review activity, and you'll revise the essay. Okay? So those are the steps we're going through. And there's just a reminder of that, what we're doing week to week. Although this is a bit backwards. In my course, I actually have peer review in week 4. So yeah, it's a little bit. We have 2 kind of slightly different structures to this class. I should delete that slide. Anyway, okay, here's an essay. Here's an ad. This is an ad for Jeep. Okay, it's a print ad. I should point out, you do not see both halves at the same time. Okay, you only see this on the left first. And this is part of a series. So I'm sorry to keep going back. I'm trying to get out of this. Let me show some, because this is pretty cool. Okay, it's a whole series. So do I still have the other? Yeah, so here's one. Here's another one. Okay, so you see the trick, right? Looked at one way, it looks like one animal. An elephant head. Looked at upside down, it's a turkey. And here's another nifty one. My computer is like slowing down. Looked at one way, it's a deer or a fawn or a doe. A doe, I think. Looked at the other way, it's a seal. So yeah, kind of nifty, kind of cute. So if we go back to this specific one, okay, so looked at one way, it's a giraffe's head. Looked at another way, it's a penguin. It might be hard to see, but it says Jeep, and the tagline is see whatever you want to see. And it's right side up here and upside down below. Now, I know we haven't talked much about ad analysis, okay, and what to look for. Actually, let me show you the next slide. Okay. Remember when I said think of 3s? You got to spot 3 interesting things. It might be useful to think about 2 broad groups. So first are what I call formal qualities. Another word would be like technical stuff. So color, sound. A print ad's not going to have sound, of course, but commercials will. Music, camera work, etc. So kind of like technical decisions. Or thematic qualities. So this is like non-technical stuff. Issues of theme or motif or character. Television commercials will sometimes have characters. The McDonald's ad kind of follows a main character. Story, etc. So thinking in terms of either technical issues or non-technical issues, let's go back to that Jeep ad. Oops, that's the next ad we're going to look at. And even though maybe you're not super comfortable, just what are some things that stand out to you in this Jeep ad? It's an incredibly minimalist ad. And yet I'd say there are certain things going on. Things that, okay, good. Bradley, nice. Patrick, this lecture will be available approximately maybe an hour after it's finished. So it'll be up tonight. Yeah, you won't have to wait until tomorrow. But Bradley, good. The background, right? Burlap. Let's stay there, because I do think background is interesting. Remember when I said asking why leads to analysis? Why this beige background? Why this fabric, burlap, this fabric-y, textile-y background? Why not just a solid blue background or a solid black background or polka dots? Okay, Nicholas says mud. Okay, that's, I think, Catherine says makes the images show better. Okay, that's true. But I can argue that when they show up against a white background, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying, uh, yeah, Nicholas, I think, is on the right path here. Think of what comes to mind when you think Jeep. I think of the stereotypical image of off-roading, right? Jeeps are what you take to go on safari or to go off the beaten track. I mean, sometimes, yeah, they're also associated with the military, but I'd say that's similar. So, does that make sense that it's not just arbitrary, that it uses an earth tone, beige, and that it has this fabric-like quality that, yeah, I forget who said it, but it reminds you of burlap or canvas, like the canvas of a tent or khaki clothing, right? These are like earthy tones, earthy images. Catherine says you could use a Jap to go see a giraffe or a penguin. Good. Actually, that gets into a second point, which is that the choice in imagery is important too, right? It's not just a reversible image of anything. It's not like Transformers. Looked at one way, it looks like a Jeep. Looked at another way, it looks like a robot, right? It specifically uses animal imagery. And again, I think we've kind of answered why. Yeah, Patrick, if you need to watch the recording, that's cool. Don't worry. Is this making sense to people? Like what we're supposed to be looking for? Because, yeah, the background is not arbitrary. The ad creators, the ad agency didn't just say at random, let's make it beige and give it a textile. No, yeah, Bradley, everything is planned and there's a reason. And so when you choose a commercial, let me give an example, okay? We're not going to watch the McDonald's ad, but McDonald's is one of the choices. There's a moment there because it follows a young man, a young millennial on his first day at work. He's feeling overwhelmed and stressed. He's being led around this office by his boss who speaks a mile a minute. He's feeling stressed and overwhelmed. During this tour, while he's getting dragged around his new workplace, he crosses paths with a young woman. And it's clear that she's like him, also on her first day, overwhelmed. They make eye contact just for a split second. That's not accidental, okay? It's set up. Because when this character goes to McDonald's at the end and finds relief, because McDonald's wants to sell her the idea that it's an oasis for, yeah, feeling relaxed, feeling at comfort, who does he see at the restaurant? The young woman he crossed paths with earlier. Again, it's such a trivial detail, but it's not. It's not in there for accident, or by accident, excuse me. So these are the things that you need to look for. Okay, good, Bradley. You're already, yeah, color is an important part of the McDonald's ad as well. So, I was just checking. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to choose the McDonald's ad, Bradley, but I've already given you two things to think of. So, okay, we've already got two things for the Jeep as well. Why this background? Why animal imagery? And if we look at, now I'll show my completed essay. By the way, I've done every assignment for this class because I think it's interesting to complete the assignments I assign my students. Like I just found that Jeep ad online. And yeah, I confidently thought, I know what to say about this because I immediately noticed color and the quality of that background. I immediately wanted to focus on animal imagery. I thought I would bang this essay out in, 2 hours because, again, I'm the instructor. 12 hours later, I was finished. So yeah, these things do take time. But here's what we're aiming for, okay? So a 5-paragraph essay. I'm trying to make this big, but still show up on the screen. So here's a long introduction paragraph. Next week, we'll get into the actual paragraphs in the essay and what they function to do. But yeah, this is a general introduction paragraph. And I riff on the idea of Jeep, like that's my opening move. Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself with its reputation for ruggedness, independence, and adventure. Then I have a nifty quote about this guy who says that Jeep is the most copied brand of American vehicles. And I say that that's hardly surprising because Jeep and the loyalty this car inspires is hardwired into our consciousness. One can easily picture a driver behind the wheel of a Jeep, downshifting around a snaking mountain bend, kicking up dust throughout the sun-baked Australian outback, or zooming past zebras grazing the Serengeti. Okay, so yeah, I'm riffing on the idea of Jeep. And we're going to actually get to this towards the end of the session, so I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. We're going to talk about thesis in a few minutes after we look at a couple more ads. The thesis is typically the final sentence of the introduction. For this week, though, you just have to know what a thesis is. But it's basically a sentence where you clearly state what your essay is going to focus on. So here are my 3 points. Through the use of simple color, so there's one idea. Playful imagery, so that animal imagery. And a double meaning tagline that reinforces theme. So the tagline was the other thing I focused on. This ad appeals to the inner adventurer inside everyone to unlock a hidden enthusiasm for Jeep. So it sets up the rest of the paper. So here's my paragraph about color. Remember threes? So I've identified 3 things. Jeep ads use of color, imagery, tagline. So here's an entire paragraph about color. Here's an entire paragraph about imagery. And by the way, who was the one who mentioned it? I think it was Catherine who said that, yeah, the animal imagery. I pretty much said exactly what you picked up on, Catherine. Like here, in that paragraph about imagery. Only such a versatile automobile as Jeep, the ad seems to suggest, could take one on a journey into the heart of the African plain, or the rocky tip of Tierra del Fuego to see to see giraffes and penguins up close. Okay, so pretty much what Catherine pointed out in her comments. Here's a paragraph on tagline, and then there's a conclusion paragraph. Don't worry too much about all this, because next week we're going to get into the 5 paragraphs and what they need to do. This week you need to choose an ad. You need to complete this brainstorming worksheet, which I'll show in a little bit. And yeah, you'll have to come up with a thesis. Okay. Here, let me go back. Okay, so awesome job with the Jeep example. Let's look at another ad. Now, this is an older ad, as you can kind of tell. I still like to use it because, one, there is a lot of interesting things going on. Or there are a lot of interesting things going on. Second, I don't know, there are retro ads. Speaking of the Rolling Stones, I don't know if anybody remembers that ad from a couple years ago for Jose Cuervo. It's supposedly set on the tour jet for the Rolling Stones circa 1975 or something, and like recreates his 70s feel. This ad is from the early 70s, but it could exist today as a retro ad. What are things that immediately leap out to you here? Again, even if you're not an expert at spotting things, like what could be interesting enough to answer the question why? Why this? Why that? Nicholas says rebel. Okay, but here's another thing I'm going to push for. I think I know what you're getting at, but like, where do you get that feeling of rebelliousness? Okay, Catherine mentioned something important, lighting. Okay. I would say, yeah, lighting is important. At this stage, don't even worry if you don't have the why part figured out yet. I'll just tell you that, yes, I think lighting is important. Tagline. Here's, oh gosh, I don't want to start nixing ideas. Yeah, possibly. Just keep in mind that ad analysis isn't, again, it's not ad summary, it's not ad explanation. I didn't really linger on the Jeep's issue of tagline, but I don't just explain what the tagline means, because I think the average person can figure that out. So yeah, you would have to do more with the tagline than just explain it. Okay, the theme, and then the model's exact opposite. Actually, I think the model is the same as the tagline. Right? I mean, who is this ad aimed at? Men. What wouldn't your mother like? Everything associated with it. Right? Your mother wouldn't approve of this car. Your mother wouldn't approve of this woman. That's kind of the play on, well, it's not a play on words, but that's kind of the message. Or it's appealing to men who, what's the stereotype? That when you hit 40 or 50, you go through a midlife crisis. You want to feel young again. So you get an irresponsible car like a convertible, because if you buy this kind of car, maybe you'll attract women. Red life, yes, mid-crisis car. Okay, Bradley, believe it or not, that's not off topic, and that connects to, I forget who said it earlier. Was it Nicholas when he just said the word rebel? Yeah, we're adults. I mean, the woman is braless. I mean, what does that bring to mind, right? I mean, she's independent. She's, again, there's a strong connection between the woman and the car. They're both things that your traditional, maybe old fashioned mother would not approve of. Okay. There's something kind of dangerous. I know that sounds terrible because I don't think the woman is dangerous, but that's sort of the connotation, right? That the woman in the car. Okay. So let's try to get back at what we could focus on. Lighting is important. What are two other things? And again, if I push back on things, it's not because I'm trying to be mean, but I'm trying to anticipate, like, your three topics have to be incredibly narrow. So Nicholas, yes, sex is an aspect here, but I think it's a little bit too broad just to say sex sells or sex appeals, right? For example, I'll help out. Okay, layout is important. Like, what's front and center? The woman in the car. They're both front and center, and they're both linked. Okay, it's not an accident that they're front and center. That's where the eye goes. Again, think technical things. Think like a designer. Even if you're not an expert in these things, I think common sense, you can spot so many interesting things. Okay, or is Andre? Yes, Andre. The woman's clothes and attitude, right? And that's front and center, and so is the car. So there's a link between the two. Lighting. I would say lighting and color, they could be handled separately as topics, or they could be discussed together, because who wants to take a stab at describing this setting in terms of lighting and color? Like, what is it going for with these oranges and reds? Wow, Catherine's loaded with information. What is the Sophia effect? A seductive type of color. Good, Andre. Okay, color. Is that the Sophia effect? But yes, the color, that's not accidental, right? We know red can sometimes equal danger or violence, but it's also seductive. Okay, it's lusty. And I would say the overall color and lighting is seductive. Lusty doesn't feel like the right word. Lurid, right? I'm trying to think of other adjectives. But you know what I'm trying to get at, right? It does have a different feel. There is a kind of fuzzy warmth that's kind of, I don't know. It reminds me of heat. Yeah, seduction, heat, languid, lurid. I'm trying to think of but yes, Bradley, it also gets your attention. Okay. And even small things like, I'm a big cinema guy. So I can already tell that the poster, which is already, it's cut off, but then another student mentioned you can see it here as well. Last Tango in Paris. You might not be familiar with that film. It's a super famous movie, but it actually, I think it was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. It has Marlon Brando, but it is an incredibly sexually frank movie. It was rated X when it came out. And even though by today's standards it probably wouldn't be X, but it's still quite graphic and frank, even for 2018. I'm telling you, that's not coincidence, right? This woman, this car in front of this movie theater playing this movie. These are all things your mother would not like. Yeah, okay, Nicholas, good. Even the environment, right? There's a guy who's staring in the background. Is he staring at the car, the woman, both? But he's definitely, they're both getting his attention. So if we needed to identify three things, I think we've named five. There's lighting, there's color, those could be discussed together or opposite. There's layout, okay, the woman in the car being front and center. The link between the woman and car, which could be part of that same topic or something separate. The overall environment, the movie theater, the guy in the distance here. Yeah, I mean, sex is definitely working, but again, it has to be something more specific than just sex sells, because that's almost too general. But if you want to focus on even the woman all by herself would be, I think, a topic, right? Why is she dressed this way? Why is she braless? What does that represent? These are all specific choices. They're not made at random. I think that will help you a lot, by the way. If you can just look at the ad, and maybe not everything will seem meaningful, or you won't be able to answer the question why, but just keep asking yourself why. For whatever you see. Like, maybe color is important, but maybe it's not. Maybe lighting is important, maybe it isn't. Music, song, story, just try to notice as many things as you can. Okay, one more. This one, actually, I think I have it open already. Here's the problem. The sound on my computer isn't working, so I'm going to give you the link for this. Oops. And encourage you to watch it if you can, because it has sound. I do think, well, hold on. Where's the share? Although I could have grabbed just the URL. Come on. There we go. So if you could click on that link, if you're able to, hopefully you have sound. It's only 15 seconds. I'll be quiet as you watch it. Okay, I think that's been about 15 seconds. I'll just let the images roll for people who are watching this. For people who are watching the recording of this lecture, the smartest thing to do is just go to YouTube and type in these words: Diet Coke, tall, dark, and handsome. As soon as you type Diet Coke and tall, it should trigger the thing. Because you do need to see not just the commercial without sound, but to listen to it as well. And again, it's only 15 seconds. So again, if we're thinking in terms of threes, what are some interesting things going on here? Jean, I don't know if it's Jean or Jean. Sexy music. Okay, I'm going to tell you that's important. That's important. Nicholas says a tall glass, the dark colored Diet Coke, slow pan. Okay, awesome. Those are two important things. Elijah says metal straw. Okay, but Elijah, I don't know. Again, we're thinking of three important things that you can ultimately write an entire paragraph about. Because let's say you choose music, which is an important aspect of this ad. Yes, you can write a rich paragraph about this ad's use of music. I think you can write a rich paragraph about the camera work. I'm not sure you could write an entire paragraph about the metal straw. I mean, unless I'm missing something. Let's take those first two, okay? Because I do think the two things that have been mentioned are important. Why this music? Again, we're trying to answer the question why. Someone said it was funky. Someone said it was sexy. Why do that? Why isn't it classical music? Why isn't it country music? The sexiest Diet Coke commercial I've ever seen. Right. Well, I don't know. Are we answering the question? Okay, Justin. Sounds like porn music from the 80s. Yeah, yeah, maybe adult films music, but also like, yeah, it's that stereotypical, right? Like mood music, except it's really it's humorous. Someone else also mentioned that, right? I forget who mentioned earlier, but it's a funny ad. It's supposed to make you smile because you hear that music, and whether you're aware of it or not, these are how ads work. By the way, you might not automatically make these connections, but it is happening in your brain. Your brain processes this as cheesy, funky, sexy music, right? Uh, what about I forget who mentioned it, but that slow pan, okay, going up the glass. Again, why? Why do that? Or what is it mimicking? Or what is it playing with? And again, you know the answer, even if you don't think you do. Andre says they're trying to say it's more tasty than it looks because the cup is longer than the bottle. Okay, but we're still, I think, dancing around it. Someone said tallness. Catherine says showcasing as tall, dark, and handsome, making the drink more appealing. Yeah. Now people are getting it, right? Tall, dark, and handsome, which we usually associate with men. And this is an ad that's probably aimed primarily at women. Coke Zero is specifically aimed at men. I don't know why. I'm happy to drink Diet Coke, but supposedly all those Zero products were apparently made for men who don't like the idea of carrying around a Diet Coke because it's associated with women. Yeah, I don't care. What's that cereal that's aimed at women that I like? Special K. I eat that too. Yeah, Coke Zero is probably a little bit better tasting. But yeah, we all get the joke, right? And by the way, even though it's aimed at women and it's playing on a phrase that we associate with men, right? Men being tall, dark, and handsome, or the idealized man. It's also a trope that we see in film. Unfortunately, it's almost always with women, but we've seen this image in films, right? Again, it's usually with women, but it starts at the ankle and starts slowly going up, or the opposite, it goes down. I don't know if people still remember movies because I'm dating myself because I'm old, but anybody remember a film called The Naked Gun? Does that film still have any people know what that film is? Yeah, it's a comedy. There's a scene in there where it slowly pans up. What's her name? Priscilla Presley's legs, and they keep going on and on and on. It's like she's 30 feet tall, right? They're having fun with that idea that it's such a trope in movies that we get the slow pan of a person's body. Again, it's kind of seductive, right? Almost like a strip tease. They're revealing little by little the person. The commercial's having fun with that, with the music, with the slow pan. Uh, a third thing, I think we've noticed one: the language, tall, dark, and handsome, right? Um, maybe color. I mean, I do think there may be more interesting things to talk about, but this is ultimately your paper, not mine. But sure, I mean, this choice of background, like it's darker at the corners and it's lighter in the center, that draws your attention towards the center. Obviously, the use of red makes the product name stand out. The shape of the glass and the color of it also stands out against the background. So, yeah, we have three or four things easily that we could talk about. So, how confident are we feeling that we can take a look at the approved ads, choose one, and be able to spot three interesting things? Because that's what I need to talk about now in the last 10 minutes. I might need to go 5 minutes over. Okay. So, oh, by the way, this is the instructions for that first assignment. And here, let me open up. Okay, so here's the list of approved ads. So now that we've looked at three ads, carefully choose one. Okay, not based on your favorite product or company, but based on the one where you can see things clearly. And you need to fill out this worksheet. Mm, there we go. Okay. Here, I'm going to close my Jeep essay. So, remember at the beginning where I said that students who attend and watch lectures do just fine? When they don't, they get into trouble. Because, yes, at first glance, it seems super easy. What ad have you chosen? McDonald's, first day. Right? It seems like, oh, it's super easy. But the questions get harder. I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Be careful here, though. Question 3 says, describe the ad as if you're explaining its visuals and other details to someone who's never seen it before. People usually do that, but then they skip all this. Be sure to identify the important stuff, like the stuff we've been trying to spot in the 3 sample ads we just looked at. Okay, so yes, explain it in some detail, but try to notice important things, because then question 4 asks you why those specific things are important. This is where you explain, like, oh, in the Jeep ad, the beige burlap background is important because it's an earth tone and it mimics burlap, canvas, things that would be associated with Jeep. The next few prompts are pretty self-explanatory. The only one that I think it's tricky is no, number 8. It says list 3 possible tactics techniques. I really wish we would reword this worksheet. This is just asking you for those 3 important things that you've noticed. Okay, you might have listed a bunch of them earlier in that summary, but here's your chance to list. Like if I were doing Jeep, it would be color, imagery, tagline. You also have samples. So every assignment comes with completed examples. Starting next week, I have examples that I've created related to the Jeep ad. But for this week, if you click on this link, you get a previous student's worksheet. And this is on the Diet Coke ad. So you can see how she completed it. Okay, and as you can see, when it gets down to tactics, this is where she mentions music, language, so that tall, dark, and handsome, and minimalist approach. She actually fixes that later and changes it to the camera work. Anyway, we have one more thing to talk about, thesis, okay? Because this is important, because Prompt 9 on the worksheet asks you to write 2 thesis sentences. The idea here is that maybe one thesis is worded better than the other, or maybe you've spotted so many interesting things, but you're not sure which 3 work best. So the idea is if you take 2 attempts at the thesis, I'll be able to see like which one's working better. Like this thesis isn't working very well at all because it doesn't list 3 things. It only mentions minimalist design. This one is a much stronger thesis because she's got her 3 things: music, cinematography, meaning that camera work, that slow pan, and language, tall, dark, and handsome. Okay, so yeah, again, if you take 2 stabs at it, probably one might be working better than the other. But first, I have to explain real quickly what thesis sentences are. So let me quickly go back to this. Let me fly through this stuff, okay? Because we've kind of talked about this. A thesis, it's like the roadmap to the paper. Next week, we'll talk about the functions of the 5 paragraphs, but I've already kind of hinted at it. The thesis is typically the final sentence of your introduction paragraph. So it sets up the rest of the paper. It's like a promise. Okay? Your thesis is where you are going to list those 3 interesting things you noticed. And so here are some examples. Here's the Jeep thesis that I wrote. Through the use of simple color. 1, playful imagery. 2, and a double meaning tagline that reinforces theme. 3, the see whatever you want to see ad, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And here's the Diet Coke thesis. The Diet Coke Tall, Dark, and Handsome ad uses sexually charged language. 1, seductive music. 2, and slow camera movement. 3, to convince sophisticated women to buy into the idea that drinking Diet Coke is as fulfilling as a heteronormative romance. That's just fancy speak for, romance between a man and a woman. Another way to think about it is, let me open up a new document real quick, is that your thesis at its most basic says the blank ad uses blank, blank, and blank in order to blank. Now, if that seems convoluted, it becomes less confusing when you fill in the blanks. The Jeep ad uses color, imagery, and tagline in order to convince, what did I say in my thesis? In order to unlock the hidden enthusiasm that Jeep owners have for the vehicle or something like that. But yeah, and you can reverse things, right? You can say like using color, imagery, and tagline, the Jeep ad. So yeah, you can play with the arrangement, but essentially it's kind of like filling in the blanks. But yeah, your thesis has to pinpoint those 3 specific interesting things you noticed in the app, because those are going to be explored 1 paragraph at a time, eventually in your essay. Okay, and by the way, the worksheet itself, here, I'm going to get rid of this. The worksheet itself, in prompt 9, which asks for 2 thesis sentences, you get the 2 thesis examples we just looked at. So let's say you don't remember what we've talked about right now, or because I'm rushing a little bit because we're at 8 p.m. already. Again, you have 2 thesis sentences that model what you're supposed to do. Finally, prompt 10, again, this should be reworded. I'm not crazy about it because there's a lot of wording here that basically just explains something very simple. Here, you just have to kind of talk about what research ideas you're thinking of. Okay, you don't have to do research yet. I'll give you a hint. Most of your research should work to support your thesis points, right? Your 3 analysis points that will appear in your thesis. But yeah, give me some idea of what for example, for Jeep, I might say, yes, I'll do research into color, but specifically earth tones. Try to find useful quotations about the color beige, or what neutrals or earth tones suggest or mean. Okay, so this is where you just have to give me a general sense of what you might research come week 2. Let's see. That's the gist of what I want to go over. I just want to make sure, did I forget anything? I don't think so. Oh, I mean, yeah, if anybody, I don't know, you can either send me a message or I can decide on my own. If people would like a sneak peek at a finished essay before we get to week 3, I don't have a problem with that. So people know what we're working toward. Yeah, class goes by quick, but I really do try to keep it at an hour because then I start to lose people. Questions, comments about ad analysis, about the first assignment, which really is, okay, here's the one thing I forgot to mention. The worksheet really is as simple as it sounds. answer those prompts with care, using what we've talked about in today's lecture to, yeah, if I get to prompt 9, which asks for thesis sentences, and what's written there are not thesis sentences. Sometimes people write slogans. Sometimes people write, yeah, that's going to be a loss of points because you need a working thesis to move ahead for the next step. Okay? Thesis is everything. It sets up the structure for your entire paper. But on the other hand, I don't expect perfection. For example, sometimes students, they have great ideas, but maybe they're not seeing how important they are. But if they're there in the worksheet, then I can say, hey, look, you mentioned color. You mentioned music. You mentioned this. These are great. These need to be your 3 thesis points. Or for students who really struggle, maybe they choose an ad and just are like, I can't see anything. I will help out. Okay, I do have a list of like 6 or 7 things for each ad, but I'd like to see students first do the work. Okay, again, I don't expect perfection, but the more that's on the page, the more that shows that you've looked at the ad carefully. Usually that works out pretty well because typically the ideas are there. I just have to point them out. But yeah, for students who are really struggling, I do sometimes say, here are 7 interesting things going on in the Call of Duty ad. Choose 3. That might sound incredibly controlling, but they still have to write the paper. They still have to look at the ad. They still have to choose 3 things that they're comfortable writing out and can truly see at work in the ad, right? I don't do that for them. So yeah, I'm here to help. I'm not going to leave people hanging. But yeah, you guys should be in good shape because those of you who are here for the lecture, I don't think you should have that many problems. Yeah, Jason, the first 10 minutes is pretty much bureaucratic stuff. I do show how to use the McGraw-Hill site. So it's mostly like overall class stuff. Nicholas says, can you send me those? You mean like the sample essay? For this, I missed some comments. Someone's mentioning the Call of Duty ad, but Nicholas, I might have missed the first half of your comment because I only see for the Call of Duty ad, but no, the several things going on in choice 3. Okay, I'm still confused. I'm trying to scroll up to see if I missed the first half of the question. I mean, I don't have a Call of Duty paper, if that's what you're asking about, or the several things going on. And the student should do the work first. In other words, I want to see you complete the worksheet. Let's say you choose the Call of Duty ad. Yeah, if I see that maybe you're struggling, that's when I'll present the list. And I'm not doing it to like keep things hidden. It's just that I think based on today's lecture, people should have a pretty good idea of what to look for. Like I've already mentioned, I already gave away one of them, music, like the choice of song. You don't have to write about that, but that's a pretty obvious one. Like, why does it use the Rolling Stones' Give Me Shelter? Maybe there's some people here who haven't even watched the ad yet, but can already make a pretty good guess. If you are comfortable with what we've gone over, you don't have to stick around. I thank you so much for attending. We'll do this the same time next week. I'm going to hang around a bit, though, to answer questions if you have them. I hope the stuff at the end made sense because I feel like I was rushing through the thesis explanations. Right? Do I still have my Jeep essay open? I don't think so. My computer is slowed down to a stall. Open recent Jeep. You're welcome, people. Thank you so much for attending. Okay. So, yeah. Do people find it useful? Would you like to see an example of a completed essay right from the get-go so you know what we're working toward, or that would confuse things? Okay, Nicholas. Then I'll send it out. I have to decide whether I want to send it out as a message or if I'm going to include it. I don't want to include it in the first assignment because that will confuse people. They'll think they have to write an essay from the get-go. That's my only concern. I'll send it out, but sometimes people don't watch lectures or read instructions might think, oh, I've already got to write a paper. No, you just have to do the worksheet. But yeah, so like here's the thesis, right? It comes at the end of the introduction and it sets up the rest of the paper, right? It's like a promise. A reader, even if they're not paying attention, subconsciously they know, oh, okay, this paper is going to talk about color, imagery, and the ad's tagline. And yeah, I do more with the Jeep ad than just explain its tagline, because that's not really terribly interesting. I explain how the tagline reinforces Jeep's image as a versatile automobile. But yeah, this is what we're aiming for. So anyway, I'll figure out the best way to send it out. Probably as a message, and I'll make it clear that this is what we're aiming for, but we're not there yet. The reading will open. Yeah, you'll have to figure out how to change the pop-up. If you have a lot of, if you truly can't figure it out, that's a good thing to call FSO support, 877-437-6349. They should be able to help with things like that. In every machine, it might be different, but yeah, there's a way to turn off your pop-up blocker. Okay, but really, FSO support, they're here to answer those questions too. They're knowledgeable enough that it doesn't matter if you're using a MacBook or if you have your own PC, they should be able to help you with that. And it looks like Nicholas is generously offering his help as well. Andre says, so the attendance is made through the week activities. Yeah, I don't take attendance on the lecture because not everybody shows up for the live lecture. The majority are going to watch the recording. And I see it through that weekly journal, the activity where you have to summarize the week's readings and lecture. Again, just 2 medium-ish paragraphs. Just show me that you watched and that you read. Yeah, I see it through that activity, and I also see it when the actual assignments get submitted. You know, if I get a worksheet that's just way off, like way off, then yeah, that's usually evidence that instructions weren't read or the lecture wasn't watched. So there are kind of multiple ways I can figure out. It's not to be penalizing. It really is. People who either attend or watch lectures, they do just fine. Isn't professionalism part of attending lectures? No. I mean, it could be. I'm sure there are other instructors who, again, when it's clear that they haven't attended the lecture and it shows up in their work. But usually their grades are so low that I don't want to, like, a penalty's already been assessed. Again, trust me, people who watch the lectures, they do just fine. I've never handed out more A's and B's in my life to the people who consistently attend or watch the lectures, because they have fewer stumbles. The assignments are kind of, and it's not intentional, it's just I think they're misleading in the sense that on their surface they look like they're a breeze, like they could be completed. But of course, if you didn't watch a lecture, you would probably be guessing, unlike the thesis section. But yeah, professionalism is mostly for egregious things. So being incredibly rude to the instructor or classmates, there's a penalty for missing assignments, but I try not to take off many professionalism points. But yeah, be careful. There are instructors who are the opposite. They'll take off lots. You're welcome, people. Yeah, Jason, I include examples. And that's why I actually, I didn't complete the worksheet, but I do have an outline, sample outline for next week. And of course, the sample essay for the essay draft. But even so, we have also past students work and examples for every assignment. So yeah, every activity comes with, every writing assignment, I should say, comes with at least one example of the past student work or my examples, because I sat down and decided to do an ad analysis essay. And like I said, I learned a lot from it. I learned that even the instructor, it took me hours upon hours to write a 3-page paper. I'm a little bit nitpicky. Obviously, I have to have it work as a, hopefully, pretty decently working model. But yeah, it took time. So I'm aware that no writing task is easy. Okay, if questions, we have 3 people left, so if I'll answer more questions, but if not, I will shut things down soon. Yeah, I'm kind of a hand holder, Jason. Like next week, I will walk through the outline template because I don't want people to make mistakes. And we have examples. And yeah, I don't know. I love examples. I think they're incredibly useful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I'm going to hang out a little bit. But I'm stopping the recording now.